The sky turned red. First came the sound, a deep thunder-like rumble that vibrated through buildings and bones. Then, the sky cracked open, and fire rained down from space. Nobody had time to prepare. Earth had no warning, no message, no demand. Just destruction. Private Jackson Reed was eating a cold sandwich in the corner of a base cafeteria when the first blast hit. The lights flickered. An alarm screamed. Soldiers ran, shouting orders no one could hear clearly. Outside the window, 3 massive alien ships hovered above the city like giant metal sharks. One moved slowly, too slowly, and then fired. The city's skyline vanished in a single white flash. Jackson dropped his sandwich and ran for his gear. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. It was war. 12 hours later, Jackson crouched. Behind a broken wall, blood trickling down his forehead. His squad was gone. Maybe dead. Maybe hiding. He didn't know. The alien machines walked the streets, scanning everything with glowing blue eyes. When they saw a human, they didn't speak. They just vaporized. He stayed low, breathing slow. His fingers tightened around the rifle's grip. He had 1 grenade left, and just 5 rounds. That's when he saw her. She was tall, over 7 feet, and glowing slightly. Not like the other alien soldiers. This one had skin that shimmered like water, eyes that were silver and sad. She wasn't wearing armor. She looked lost. She stepped into the ruins and froze when she saw him. For a moment, they stared at each other, unsure who would fire first, but then she spoke. "You're not afraid of me?" Jackson blinked. Her voice was soft, almost like a whisper. "I should be," he said, gun still pointed. "Are you one of them?" "I was." Flashback. 2 days before the invasion high above Earth, the Alien Council held its final vote. The Earth was labeled as a threat to the galactic balance. Too chaotic, too emotional, too dangerous. But not all agreed. One alien, Princess Alara, of the Zerathi, stood and objected. "Humans are not the monsters you fear. I've watched them, I've studied them. They have the strength to destroy, yes, but they also love, protect, and create." Her words were ignored. She was sent with the invasion force to watch, not interfere. She never thought she'd end up on the battlefield. And now, here she was, standing face to face with a lone human soldier. Back in the present, Jackson slowly lowered his weapon. "You're not here to kill me?" She shook her head. "I came to see if humans were really the monsters our leaders say you are. I was wrong. They are." "What?" She stepped forward, her hands raised. "They lied to us. They're not here to protect the galaxy. They're here to conquer it." He stared at her. His body screamed at him to run. But something in her voice, something in her trembling fingers, made him stay. Then, from the sky, a deep voice echoed in a strange language. Her face changed. "They found me," she whispered. "They're going to kill us both." Hook ending of part 1. Jackson grabbed her wrist. "You came here to learn the truth, right? Then don't run. Now you want to know who we really are? Stick with me." She looked at his hand, his touch. No fear, no hatred. Something ancient inside her pulsed, and for the first time in her long alien life, she felt bound. Ilara's feet stumbled as she followed Jackson through the rubble-strewn alleyways. Smoke covered the stars. Fires burned where homes used to stand. The ground trembled again. Distant explosions. Her people were still destroying the city. Every step she took with him felt like a betrayal, but she didn't stop. They ducked into the ruins of a parking garage. Jackson led her to a half-collapsed stairwell. There, hidden between concrete slabs, was a small makeshift shelter, barely big enough for 2 people. "I've been hiding here," Jackson whispered. "Radio's dead. I don't know who's left." Ilara looked around. It was dark, cold, cramped, but it was safe, for now. Why didn't you kill me earlier? Jackson asked suddenly. Ilara looked at him. Because I don't want to hurt. You. He raised an eyebrow. Even though I'm human? She nodded slowly. Yes, even then. Hours passed. Neither of them slept. Ilara sat with her knees pulled up, watching Jackson silently clean his weapon. He didn't speak much, but she could feel something change between them. Not trust yet, but something. She finally broke the silence. Why do you fight? She asked softly. He didn't look up. Because they killed my team. Because they burned my city. I mean, deeper than that, she said. He hesitated, then looked her in the eyes. Because we're human, we don't run easy. She didn't understand at first, but she remembered the files, the ones that described humans as emotional, dangerous, and unpredictable. She was starting to see it herself. Suddenly, a loud metallic thud echoed through the garage. Jackson shot to his feet. Stay low. Footsteps. Heavy, echoing, unnatural. A scout drone. Its red light swept across the rubble. Jackson held his breath. Ilara closed her eyes, whispering something in her alien tongue. The light passed, then returned. It stopped, right on them. Jackson fired first. The bullet sparked off its armor. The drone screeched, firing a pulse beam. The wall exploded beside them. Dust flew. Concrete shattered. Jackson shoved Ilara behind him. Run! She didn't run. She raised her hand, and a soft glow appeared from her palm. With a quiet hum, a wave of force blasted the drone against the far wall. Sparks flew. Silence. Jackson stared at her. You've got powers? Ilara nodded, trembling. I wasn't supposed to use them. It'll alert the others. He looked at her, breathing hard. You saved me. She stared back. You saved me first. They moved again. No rest. No time. Jackson took her underground, through tunnels and subway lines that were half flooded and dark. Rats scurried. The smell of oil and smoke filled the air. After hours of walking, they reached a sealed metal door. He knocked in a pattern. A small panel opened, and a human eye peeked through. A voice said, You alone? Jackson answered, Not exactly. The door opened. Inside was a hidden group of survivors, civilians, a few soldiers, and children. About 20 in total. They all looked at Ilara. Someone whispered, Alien. Jackson raised a hand. She's not like the others. She saved my life. Nobody spoke. The tension was sharp. A woman stepped forward. Older, maybe in her 60s. She had a scar down her face. If she turns on us, the woman said, you'll be the first to regret it. Jackson nodded. Fair enough. Later, Ilara sat near a small campfire with the children. They were afraid of her at first, but she smiled gently, and they began to inch closer. She told them stories, not of war, but of stars and galaxies and alien creatures that were peaceful. The children laughed. One even held her hand. Jackson watched, from across the room. He didn't know what was happening. Just hours ago, she was his enemy. Now, she was giving these kids hope. A boy walked up to Jackson. Is she gonna stay? He looked down. Maybe. The boy nodded. She makes the dark less scary. Jackson didn't know what to say to that. The next morning, an explosion rocked the tunnel. The air shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. A voice shouted, They found us. Screams. Laser fire lit up the tunnels. Screeching drones entered, followed by tall alien soldiers. Jackson pulled his gun. Ilara stepped forward, her body glowing with blue light. She turned to him. If I do this, they'll mark me a traitor forever. You already crossed the line, Jackson said. You might as well finish the walk. She gave him a sad smile, and then she moved like lightning. Her glow became a shield. She blasted the enemy soldiers back, one by one, shielding the humans. Jackson fired beside her, moving as a team. Together they fought off the attackers. Together they survived. After the battle, Alara collapsed to one knee, exhausted. Jackson caught her before she fell. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "Using my power, like that, it drains me." The survivors stared at her, not with fear now, but with something else. Respect. One child ran up and hugged her leg. The scarred woman stepped forward. "If she wants to stay with us, she's welcome." Jackson looked at her. "You still think she'll turn?" The woman smiled. "If she does, I hope we're on her good side." As the humans helped Alara sit down and rest, Jackson sat beside her. "You could have run, you could have let us die." Alara whispered. "I couldn't." He looked into her silver eyes, and for a strange, quiet moment, they didn't feel like enemies anymore. They felt like something new, something unspoken, something bound. The quiet didn't last. Alara sat in the corner of the underground shelter, her head resting against the wall. Her body was weak, her energy almost gone. Even blinking felt heavy. The humans gave her water and a blanket. No one questioned her loyalty now. But she knew. Her people would not stop. And soon, they would send someone worse. Someone who knew her. Someone who trained her. Jackson stood near the edge of the tunnel, holding his rifle. His eyes didn't leave the shadows. He couldn't rest. The others were trying to rebuild a small generator. Some cooked soup using scavenged supplies. But Jackson stayed on guard. He felt something coming. Footsteps approached behind him. He turned. It was Alara. She looked pale, but she walked with purpose now. "You should rest," he said. "I can't," she replied. "You don't understand who they'll send next." Jackson lowered his voice. "Then help me understand." She looked around, making sure no one else was listening. Then she whispered, "There's a unit called the Void Hand. Silent assassins. They're trained to kill without being seen. No mercy. No prisoners." He frowned. "Like special ops?" She nodded. "They've probably already been activated to eliminate me." "You?" he asked. "Not just us?" "I disobeyed orders. I used forbidden powers to protect enemies. I bonded with your kind emotionally. That's worse than treason. In my empire." Jackson stared at her. "So you're marked?" "Yes," she said softly. "And anyone with me will be hunted too." He gave a small laugh, dry and bitter. "Great. So we're already dead. Just waiting." But then he paused and added, "Unless we hit first." Alara watched him. "What do you mean?" "You said they're silent killers. They don't expect loud humans to come looking for them. Maybe we surprise them. Maybe we take out their scout before they find us." "That's insane," she whispered. "So is sitting here waiting to die," he replied. An hour later, they prepared. Jackson checked his weapons while Alara drew strange glowing patterns into a tablet. She was creating a tracking rune, one that would find energy signatures from her people. The others in the shelter looked nervous, but no one tried to stop them. They weren't leaders. They weren't commanders. But after the last battle, everyone watched the two of them differently, as if they might actually stand a chance. The rune pulsed. Alara's silver eyes narrowed. "They're close. One of them is already nearby, watching." Jackson gritted his teeth. "Then we don't wait. Let's end this." They left the shelter quietly, slipping into the upper tunnels. Alara moved silently, her glowing fingers hovering above the ground as she tracked the enemy's trail. Jackson followed close behind, gun ready. Minutes passed, then she stopped. "He's here," she whispered. "He's cloaked. Watching." Jackson froze. The air felt wrong, heavy, cold. Then something moved behind them, too fast. A blur of black and silver metal dropped from the ceiling, twisting in midair with silent grace. Jackson fired. Missed. The enemy struck him across the chest, hard enough to knock him down. Ilara raised her hand, sending a wave of force, but the assassin spun sideways, dodging with ease. Then it spoke. "Ilara, you've fallen far," Jackson gasped. The voice was deep, hollow, like it came from the shadows themselves. The assassin removed his hood, a face like hers, but older, more scarred. Her brother. "Ilan," she said, stunned. "I asked them to let me kill you gently," he said. "They refused. You don't have to do this." "I do," he replied, stepping forward. "You broke the bond of the stars. You touched a human soul." She raised her hand again, this time not to attack, but to protect Jackson behind her. "Then I'll fight," she said, "even if it breaks my heart." The next moment happened fast. Blades of glowing black energy shot from Ilan's arms. He lunged forward. She blocked the strike barely. Jackson rolled to the side and opened fire. Bullets sparked off the alien's armor. Not enough. The fight was brutal. Silent. Ilan's movements were like water. Smooth. Deadly. Ilara was fast, too, but not stronger. She was losing. Jackson saw her fall. He screamed and ran forward. Ilan turned, and Jackson did something insane. He tackled the alien straight into an old power line, exposing high voltage. Electricity burst out. Ilan shrieked in pain and collapsed. Jackson dropped too, twitching, smoke rising from his jacket. Ilara crawled to him. He was breathing, but barely. "You fool," she whispered. "You could have died." He smiled weakly. "Well, I couldn't let you get stabbed by your own family." Her heart ached. She touched his face, and for the first time she didn't hold back the pulse inside her. A soft light passed from her skin into his. His wounds began to heal. Not fully, but enough. He blinked. What was that?" She looked down. "A gift. One I was never allowed to give." He smiled. "You're full of surprises." Then he whispered, "You know we can't go back to the shelter now." "I know," she said quietly. "But wherever you go," he added, "I'm coming with you." In the darkness far behind them, another figure watched. A second assassin, listening, waiting, and now, tracking both of them. Ilara and Jackson moved through the silent ruins above the city. The night sky glowed faint blue, reflected from the enemy ships still hovering like vultures above Earth. Distant explosions echoed now and then, but this part of the city was mostly abandoned. Everyone either fled or died. Jackson's steps were slower than usual. His ribs still ached from the fight. He kept one hand over his side, the other gripping his rifle. "You shouldn't be walking," Ilara said softly. He gave her a half smile. "And you shouldn't be here either, but here we are." She helped him climb over a broken metal gate. Her hand lingered on his for a moment longer than needed. It was strange. She had seen humans before in images and reports. But being this, close to one, fighting beside one, bleeding for one, was something else entirely. She wasn't supposed to care, but she did, and that terrified her. They entered an old hospital building. It was half collapsed but still standing. Inside, the smell of dust and burnt plastic filled the air. "This will do for now," Jackson said. They moved into a back room and locked the door. He set his rifle aside and slumped to the floor. "You should rest," she said, kneeling beside him. He shook his head. "Not until I know what comes next." She looked down. "They'll send more." "How many more?" She hesitated. "They won't stop until they either take me or kill me." Jackson stared at her. "You mean us now?" She looked up, startled. "You?" "Keep saying me," he said. "But we've been in this together since the moment you took my side." Her lips parted as if to respond, but she didn't know what to say. He leaned closer, just a little. "You could have left me behind. Twice. And you could have let me die," she replied. They sat in silence. Something unspoken pulsed between them. Then, static. A crackling sound came from Jackson's backpack. The radio. He grabbed it and turned the knob. After a moment of interference, a voice came through. "This is Bravo Team Delta. Any survivors respond. We've secured the riverbank and are regrouping at grid point Echo 7. Repeat, Echo 7. Jackson's eyes lit up. It's real. There are survivors. Organized ones. Ilara frowned. That's close to the edge of the occupation zone. Jackson nodded. Which means if we move fast, we can make it. You'll never outrun them in your condition. Then we don't. Outrun, he said. We distract, we move smart. She sighed, knowing she couldn't change his mind. I'll protect you, she said. You already are, he replied. They left the next morning. Dawn broke, but it brought no warmth. The alien ships above continued to scan the ruins, dropping drones, harvesting materials, sometimes even collecting bodies. Ilara and Jackson stayed low, using alleys, broken buildings, and underground paths. Halfway to the riverbank, they stopped. They weren't alone. A strange sound echoed down a side street. Not footsteps, not machinery, breathing, heavy, ragged, angry. Jackson raised his rifle. What the hell is that? Ilara whispered. It's not one of my people. A shadow stepped out from behind a shattered bus. It was tall, humanoid, but its skin was blackened and smoking. Its eyes were red hot, not glowing, burning. It roared. Ilara's body went cold. That's not just a soldier, she whispered. That's a cursed fusion unit. A what? They take dying soldiers and fuse them with rage-enhancing implants. It's a punishment. They feel nothing but hate. Jackson tightened his grip. It looks like it wants to tear us apart. It does, she said, and it can. The creature lunged. Jackson fired, direct hit to the chest. Nothing. Ilara threw a force wave. It barely slowed the monster down. Jackson shouted, "Run!" They ran into the subway entrance, the beast smashing, concrete behind them. Lights shattered, walls cracked. They reached the tunnels, dark and damp. Ilara turned. We can't outrun it forever. Jackson stopped beside her. Then we fight it smart. He looked up, pipes, wires, old gas lines. He smiled grimly. Cover me. He climbed, a side ladder toward the ceiling. The creature burst into the tunnel. Ilara screamed and threw another shield, but the beast rammed through it. Jackson ripped a loose pipe free and twisted it. The old gas line hissed. Ilara caught on. She trapped the beast in a glowing cage of energy, just long enough. Jackson lit a flare and dropped it. Boom. The tunnel shook. With fire, the creature let out a monstrous shriek and was thrown back into rubble. Smoke filled the air. Ilara coughed, then rushed to Jackson, who dropped from the ceiling. He hit the ground hard and groaned. Worth it? She checked his leg. Burned. Bleeding. She pulled him up, wrapping his arm over her shoulders. We keep moving. You know, he muttered. You're really bad at running away. You're really bad at staying still, she replied. They reached the riverbank as the sun began to fall. Smoke filled the sky, but in the distance, real soldiers. Human ones, tanks, communication towers, a flag. They were almost safe. Almost. Then Ilara froze. She turned and saw her brother again, but this time, he wasn't alone. 3 others stepped out behind him. Void Hand elites. No words, just one slow, synchronized movement, drawing their weapons. Jackson whispered, I'll hold them off. You go. No, she said firmly. We fight together. He looked at her, bruised, bloodied, and still standing strong beside him, and he nodded. Side by side, they raised their weapons. The final battle for survival had begun. Jackson's hand shook slightly as he raised his rifle. His heart pounded. The 4 assassins moved closer, each step silent, perfect, deadly. Ilara stepped in front of him. No, he said quickly, grabbing her arm. You're too weak. She didn't move. So are you. They both knew the truth. They weren't ready for this fight. Not injured, not outnumbered. Not now. But running wasn't an option anymore. Her brother Elan stood still in the center. His eyes met hers. Cold, sad. You could have come back, Ilara, he said calmly. They would have forgiven you. Eventually. I don't want forgiveness, she replied. I want freedom. Jackson raised his weapon again. If you're here to take her, then you'll have to take me too. One of the assassins stepped forward. His armor shimmered, nearly invisible. A pulse blade hummed in his hand. Then, movement. Fast. Ilara pushed Jackson down just as the blade sliced through the air where his neck had been. Jackson rolled and fired. The shot hit the assassin's shoulder, just enough to unbalance him. Ilara created a shockwave. It threw two of the assassins back, but not Elan. He stepped forward untouched and said, You still don't understand, sister. She growled. No. I finally do. They fought like lightning. Jackson faced the two assassins who had regrouped. He dodged, rolled, and fired from behind broken stones, but it was clear. They were faster, smarter. He was fighting ghosts. One of them disappeared into smoke. Another reappeared behind him. A strike landed on his back. He fell hard, pain shooting through his ribs. The assassin raised his blade for the final blow, then suddenly screamed. Blue energy exploded through its body. Ilara had thrown everything she had into one last pulse. The assassin collapsed into dust. She dropped, to her knees, panting hard. Blood dripped from her nose. Jackson crawled toward her. You okay? No, she whispered, barely able to speak. But it's not over. Elan was still coming. And now? He looked angry. He stepped closer to his sister. The world around them blurred. All sound faded, except for her heartbeat. Why him? Elan asked. Why protect this fragile creature? She looked at Jackson, lying broken and bruised beside her. He's not fragile, she said softly. He's stronger than you'll ever be. Elan's hand trembled. Then for the first time he looked unsure. Then I failed, he whispered. His blade dropped to his side. Go, he said, before I change my mind. Ilara blinked. What? Leave. If they think I killed you, they'll stop hunting you. You'd lie for me? I'm already a traitor, aren't I? He said, looking at the other dead assassin. What's one more betrayal? Jackson coughed. You're full of surprises. Elan ignored him. He turned his back. Ilara stood slowly, helping Jackson to his feet. She looked at her brother one last time. Thank you. He didn't reply, but he didn't stop them either. They stumbled toward the riverbank. And then finally, they were found. Two human soldiers in camo gear spotted them from behind a barricade. Drop your weapon, one shouted at Jackson. Jackson held up both hands. Don't shoot. We're friendlies. The soldiers ran to them, rifles ready. But then they saw Ilara. She's not human, one of them barked. Back up. She's with me, Jackson said firmly. She saved my life. The men hesitated. Then a voice came from behind the barricade, a woman's voice, firm and commanding. Let them through. The soldiers moved. Aside, a tall officer stepped forward. Colonel Reese, mid-40s, face full of scars and wisdom. She looked Ilara over. You don't belong here. I know, Ilara said, but I'm not your enemy. We'll see, the colonel replied. Inside the camp, they were given water, blankets, and medical care. Jackson winced as his ribs were wrapped. Feels like I got stepped on by a building. Ilara sat nearby, her eyes half closed. She hadn't slept in 2 days. You should rest, he said. You first, she replied with a tiny smile. Hours passed. Jackson finally dozed off. Ilara stood alone near the edge of the camp, staring at the river. Her reflection shimmered in the water, part alien, part stranger. She didn't belong with her people anymore, but she wasn't human either. So what was she? A soft voice spoke behind her. You bonded with him. It was the colonel. Ilara didn't turn. I didn't mean to. You care about him? Yes. The colonel nodded. Then you understand what you've done. What do you mean? You're no longer free, the colonel said. Not from us, not from your people, not even from him. Ilara frowned. Why? Because when a human and something like you fight, bleed, and survive together, a bond is formed. And bonds like that don't break easy. Ilara whispered. I'm starting to understand. She looked toward the stars. I just don't know what happens next. In the shadows of the camp, someone watched her. Not an assassin. Not a soldier, but something worse. It crawled silently. It had no name, no face, only a hunger for what was forbidden. And Ilara was now marked by both sides. The next morning came with a bitter chill in the air. Ilara awoke before the sun, standing alone near the camp's outer fence. The river behind her shimmered quietly, untouched by war. But something inside her told her peace wouldn't last. She closed her eyes. She could feel it. Something watching. Jackson limped across the camp to find her. His ribs were still sore, but he refused help from the medics. When he reached her side, he noticed the distant look in her eyes. You sense it too, don't you? He asked. She nodded slowly. Yes. Something worse is coming. Worse than your brother. This is older. Not just a soldier, a thing. A punishment. He frowned. What kind of punishment? Ilara's voice lowered. They call it the devourer of bonds. It hunts those who connect with outsiders. It doesn't kill fast. It feeds on connections. Jackson's face darkened. And now it's coming for us. Yes. Inside the command tent, Colonel Reese listened quietly as Ilara explained. She didn't flinch. Her eyes were sharp and focused. Let me get this straight, the colonel said. Your people send a creature that tracks emotional bonds just to destroy them? Yes, Ilara confirmed. Once you care, once you form a link, it becomes real to them. It's seen as weakness, something to be purged. And you bonded with a human, Reese said, eyes narrowing. Jackson stepped forward. She's saved our lives more than once. If that counts as a crime, then she's guilty. But so am I. Reese crossed her arms. Then we need to prepare. That night, the camp fell into silence. Soldiers stayed close to their fires. The mood was heavy. Everyone felt it, even those who didn't believe in alien monsters. Jackson couldn't sleep. He sat outside the barracks, sharpening his blade slowly, even though he knew it wouldn't help against something that feeds on feelings. Ilara sat beside him, hugging her knees. He looked at her. How do we fight something we can't see? She was quiet. Then she said, You don't. He raised a brow. That's encouraging, she continued. You don't fight it with weapons, you fight it with choice. He blinked. What does that mean? If we choose fear, it wins. If we break the bond, it starves. So, you're saying we have to stop caring? Her eyes dropped. Maybe. Jackson was silent for a moment. Then he leaned closer. No. She looked at him, startled. I'd rather die with this bond than live like one of them. She couldn't speak. Her throat tightened. Then a wind blew. Cold. Wrong. Every fire in the camp flickered, then went out. Darkness swallowed the field. The sky turned black. Jackson stood and pulled his rifle close. Soldiers shouted, Something's here. Screams followed. The first body was found near the river, still breathing, but eyes wide and blank, as if their soul had been ripped away. Then the second, and a third. None of them were wounded. No blood. No marks, just empty. Colonel Reese gave the order. Lock down the camp, everyone armed, no one alone. But it was already inside. Ilara grabbed Jackson's hand. You have to stay close, she whispered. What does it look like? He asked. I don't know. It changes. As they moved through the camp, Jackson felt the air grow heavier, like they were walking underwater. Then he saw it just for a second. A shadow. Tall, wide, impossible to focus on. It was standing over one of the guards. Then it vanished. Jackson aimed and fired. The bullet passed through smoke. Nothing. They ran into the communications tent. Lights flickered, a whisper slid through the walls. "I see you. I feel you," Jackson shouted. "Get out of our heads." But Alara was frozen. She dropped to her knees. No, he dropped beside her. "What's wrong?" "It's trying to make me forget," she whispered. "Forget what?" "You." Jackson didn't wait. He placed his forehead against hers. "Don't listen. Remember the first time you saw me? I was hiding behind a wall. You had dirt on your face." She whispered faintly. "Yes, and you had that confused look. You thought I would shoot you." She smiled, just a little. "I did. Then remember when we fought the fusion beast?" She nodded. "You almost blew yourself up." "Yeah, worth it." She opened her eyes. "I remember now." Then they both turned, and the creature was standing in the doorway. It had no true form, only a shifting mass of black smoke and glowing red lines like veins of molten anger. It had no mouth, but they felt it smile. "You are mine," it said in a voice that wasn't sound, but vibration. "You will break." Jackson raised his rifle. Alara stood beside him, glowing faintly. "You want to feed?" she said. "Then choke." Together they reached out, hand to hand. The light between them flared. A pulse of raw energy exploded. The creature shrieked, smoke scattered. The sky cracked open with thunder. And then, silence. The lights returned. The darkness lifted. The creature was gone. For now. Later, as they sat quietly near a fire that had somehow relit itself, Jackson looked at her. "That wasn't just energy," he said. "What was that?" "Our bond," Alara said. "It's grown stronger. It's not just emotional anymore." He blinked. "What is it now?" She whispered. "Permanent." He didn't respond right away. Then he simply said, "Good." High above the earth, far beyond the clouds, a signal was sent from the ruins of the creature's final moment. It reached a ship. An alien general stared at the blinking screen. The devourer had failed, and worse, something ancient had awakened in its place, a bond not meant to exist. He turned to his officers. "Ready the purge fleet," he ordered. "If they won't break the bond, we'll break the planet." The sun rose the next morning, but it felt hollow. Ash drifted through the wind like falling snow. Jackson sat on a rock just outside the camp, wrapping fresh bandages over his arm. Alara stood nearby, looking up at the sky with a worried expression. Her skin glowed faintly again, reacting to something invisible, something far above. "They're coming," she said quietly. Jackson looked up too. "You sure?" "Yes. The purge fleet. It's not just soldiers this time. It's weapons, firestorms, plague clouds, things that erase entire continents." He exhaled slowly. "And they're coming because of us?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Inside the command tent, Colonel Reese paced furiously. "You're telling me," she snapped, "that these aliens are sending a fleet to destroy all of Earth just because one of their own likes a human?" Alara nodded slowly. "To them, it's more than liking. The bond between me and Jackson broke their ancient rule. It's seen as a crack in the foundation of their power." Reese looked at Jackson. "And you? Do you even understand what you're caught in?" "I didn't plan it," Jackson replied, "but I'm not running from it either." The colonel's eyes softened, just slightly. Then she turned to her staff. "Get me full satellite coverage. If ships enter orbit, I want to know, the second they drop. And prepare all surface-to-space weapons." She turned back to Alara. "If you really want to help Earth now, we'll need more than magic tricks." Alara raised her head. "I'll give you something stronger." That evening, Ilara led Jackson to the far edge of the forest, past the human patrols. She opened a hidden panel in a tree, camouflaged alien tech. Inside was a glowing sphere pulsing like a living heart. "This is a memory core," she said. "It stores ancient code from my people." Jackson frowned. "What kind of code?" "The kind that can rewrite commands," she whispered, "including those given to ships." "You're saying we can stop the fleet?" "We can try." She handed it to him. "You're human. You must carry it into the uplink tower. I'll distract the orbit sensors." "Why me?" "They're scanning for me. If I get near, they'll strike." "But they still underestimate." Hours later, with the core hidden inside a lead-lined case, Jackson and Ilara moved together under darkness toward the uplink station, an abandoned structure used for deep space signals. It was risky, but it was the only hope. They reached the perimeter just before midnight. Jackson looked at her. "Are you sure this will work?" "No," she said honestly. "But I'm sure I trust you." They stared at each other for a long moment. Then she stepped forward and kissed him, softly, but with everything they couldn't say out loud. "I'll be waiting," she whispered. Then she turned and disappeared into the trees. Jackson took a deep breath and moved toward the tower. Inside, the station was quiet. Dead screens, broken panels, dust everywhere. He found the main terminal. Plugged in the core, the screen flickered. Alien code began to pour across it like water. Then, warning, detection. A red light flared outside the window, a targeting beam. No time. He slammed the override. In orbit, the first ship paused mid-approach. "It's you." Weapon bays stopped moving. The second ship tried to fire, but its systems shut down. One by one, the purge fleet began to fall into disarray. Ilara watched from the treetops, her eyes glowing. She felt it. The code was working. And then she felt something else. Pain. On the tower's roof, Jackson stumbled. Back from the terminal, something was wrong. The core was growing hot. The metal cracked. The screen began to melt. A voice echoed from the device. "You touched the forbidden bond." A figure appeared from the center of the energy burst. Not alien, not human. Something old, timeless. A guardian of law, pure will made of energy and light. "You cannot rewrite fate," it said. Jackson grabbed the case and tried to pull the core free, but it was stuck. Locked. The being raised a hand. A spear of light formed in the air. Jackson shouted, "I didn't ask for this." "You accepted it," the being replied. "And now you must face the price." The spear flew. Jackson turned, ready to take the hit, but it never landed. Ilara appeared in front of him in a flash of blue light. The spear hit her instead, and passed through. She gasped, fell to her knees, then collapsed. Jackson caught her as she fell. "No, no, no, no," she smiled weakly. "You stopped the fleet. But not this," he whispered. "Not you." She reached up and touched his face. "My people will see the bond can't be erased. Even if I'm gone, they'll remember this." He held her tighter. "You're not gone." The energy being began to fade. Its voice echoed one last time. "Two hearts created something we feared." Then, silence. The sky returned to normal. The fleet drifted, lost, confused, disarmed. Earth was saved. But at what cost? Jackson stayed with her body until sunrise. He didn't speak, didn't move. He only held her hand, until it stopped glowing. Back at the camp, soldiers celebrated the retreat of the enemy fleet. Colonel Reese raised a toast, but Jackson didn't join. He sat alone under a tree, the memory core beside him, cracked but still faintly pulsing. Then something strange happened. The pulse matched his heartbeat. A soft glow lit the air. A voice whispered, not from outside, but inside him. "Ilara?" Jackson sat under the tree staring at the cracked memory core. The sky was clear, the wind soft. Earth had survived, but he didn't feel like celebrating. The fleet was gone. The enemy had stopped firing, and yet something in him felt broken. Her hand had turned cold in his. Her light had gone out. And then, after hours of silence, the memory core began to glow again, very faintly. He thought it was just flickering light. But then he heard the whisper, not in his ears, in his mind. Ilara. He stood up so fast the core almost fell from his lap. He held it close. Ilara, is that you? Silence. Then another whisper. Not fully. His heart raced. What does that mean? Are you alive? The core glowed brighter for a second. Then dimmed. No, but not gone either. He froze. Ilara's voice, echoing through the alien tech. What happened to you? A long pause, then. I passed into the bond. The energy didn't destroy me, it pulled me in. Jackson's hands trembled. You're trapped in the core? No. I'm part of it now. He knelt down, holding it gently like holding her soul. Can we bring you back? I don't know, she whispered, but you need to protect this core. Others will come. They'll want to destroy it and me. He nodded. I'll protect it. I promise. Inside the camp, Colonel Reese stared at a report. One of her officers spoke. The core Jackson carries, it's broadcasting a frequency. From orbit? She asked. No. Deeper. Below us. Something's answering from the Earth's crust. Reese raised an eyebrow. Something's beneath us? Yes. A buried alien structure, possibly ancient. Possibly alive. She stood up. Send scouts. Quietly. Jackson was brought into the command tent again. He sat down, the memory core, resting on the table. Reese leaned forward. That voice, it's Ilara? He nodded. She's alive, in some way. Is she stable? I don't know. Reese looked at the sphere. That thing she left behind, it's not just tech. It's something else. It talks to satellites, reacts to blood. One of our engineers said it even grew warm when you touched it. Jackson didn't answer. Reese continued. We've picked up strange signals from below the Earth. We think something ancient is waking up. Something connected to her. Jackson narrowed his eyes. You're not thinking of using it as a weapon, are you? Reese didn't deny it. She was one of them. If she unlocked this world's secrets, we need to know what she left behind. She didn't leave behind a weapon, Jackson said firmly. She left behind a second chance. Reese leaned back. Let's hope you're right. That night, Jackson sat alone in a tent with the core. He whispered, Ilara, are you still there? Yes, came the soft reply. He smiled a little. They want to study you, dig up the past, use you for war. I'm not surprised. Should I stop them? Ilara paused. No, but guide them. Let them see why I made the choice, and why did you? He asked. Why did you protect me in the ruins? Why did you save Earth? Another pause, then she whispered, because of the way you looked at me. He blinked. What? That first moment when you lowered your weapon, you were scared, but still kind. I had never seen a look like that, not from humans, not from anyone. It made me feel alive. He held the core tighter. I miss you. I'm still here, but I want more than a voice, he said. I want you back. The glow brightened. Then go to the place where the stars sleep. There's a gate buried below. A gate to what? To the part of me that remains. 3 days later, a small recon unit entered the deep tunnels under the camp. Jackson led them. The core guided the way, flashing brighter near certain stones, growing hot when danger was near. They passed through walls of silver root-like structures, alien ruins, and finally they reached it. A door, not made of metal, but of light. Floating symbols circled it. The core pulsed wildly. This is it, Jackson whispered. This is the gate. Behind him, one of the engineers whispered, it's not just alien tech. This is living memory, preserved thought. Jackson stepped forward. The core lifted from his hands on its own. It floated toward the door. Then the symbol stopped. The door opened. Only darkness inside. But it called to him. "Ilara?" Her voice answered. "Yes, but not just me." "What do you mean?" "There are others inside. Echoes, fragments. You'll need to find me." "Inside that?" he asked, heart racing. "Yes, if you truly want me back. Step through." Jackson looked back at the team. They didn't stop him. He took one deep breath and walked into the light. The door closed behind him, and the glow vanished. From outside, the engineers called his name. No answer, just silence, until the core dropped, gently to the ground, still pulsing, still alive. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Jackson opened his eyes and saw nothing. He stood in a space that didn't feel real. No sky, no ground, just white light stretching forever. No wind, no air. Yet he was breathing. "Ilara?" he called out. His voice didn't echo. It just disappeared. He walked forward, but there was no direction, just motion. Then suddenly the light rippled, and the world changed. He stood in a forest, but not any forest he knew. The trees glowed blue. The sky shimmered like a pool of water above him. The air felt soft, like warm breath. "Ilara," he called again. This time he heard something, a voice. Distant. "Jackson." He turned around. No one. Then again. "Jackson." He ran. Through trees. Over glowing stones. Across a river that didn't splash when his feet touched it. And there, standing beneath a tree of light, was her Ilara. But she didn't look the same. She was brighter. Her body slightly transparent, as if made of starlight. Her eyes shimmered with galaxies. "Is it really you?" he asked. She smiled. "Yes, but not fully. Not yet." He stepped closer. Reached out. His hand passed through hers. Like a warm breeze. His heart dropped. "I thought I could bring you back." "You can," she said softly. "But not here. Not like this." "Then why bring me?" "Because I needed you to see." She raised her arms. The sky turned black, and 1,000 stars burst to life above them. Each one flickered like a heartbeat. "These are the ones like me," she whispered. "Those who bonded, who were erased, who chose love over law." Jackson's mouth went dry. "You're not the first?" "No," she said. "But I might be the last chance." Then a loud sound shattered the peace. A cracking. The stars above them began to blink out one by one. "Ilara?" She grabbed his hand this time, and this time he felt it. Real, solid, warm. "They're coming here," she said. "Even this place isn't safe." "Who's coming?" "The elders," she whispered. "The ones who created the no-bond law. They've sensed your presence. A human here breaks their oldest code." "What do? We make a choice." The ground began to tremble. A giant shadow moved through the trees, taller than any creature, without shape, only hunger. Jackson stood in front of her. "I won't let them take you again." She looked at him. "Then take me back." "What?" "You still carry a part of me. In your chest." He looked down. A faint glow shined through his skin, right over his heart. "It's the link," she said. "If you accept it fully, if you let me anchor inside you, I can return. But what happens to me?" "You'll survive," she said. "But I'll be part of you forever." He blinked. "Forever's a long time." She smiled. "Is that a no?" He grinned. "It's a yes." He opened his arms. She stepped into them. Their bodies began to merge, not disappear, but combine. Light wrapped around them, pulled inward, collapsed. The world folded. The stars blinked back into place, and the shadows screamed. But too late. They were gone. Back in the real world, The scientists near the gate stepped back as the stone glowed, blinding white. The memory core pulsed rapidly, then cracked open completely. And then, without warning, Jackson fell out of the light. He collapsed onto the ground, gasping. Everyone ran to him, but he held up a hand. "Wait!" He stood slowly, and when he opened his eyes, one of them glowed faintly silver. "Ilara?" whispered one of the engineers. Jackson nodded. "She's with me." Colonel Reese arrived moments later. "What happened?" He looked at her, voice steady. "We brought her back, not as a weapon, not as a ghost, but as something new." The colonel didn't argue. She saw the light in his chest, the peace in his face. She nodded. "Then let's find out what this new thing is." That night, Jackson sat by the river again. The wind brushed his face. Inside his mind, her voice whispered gently, "Thank you." He smiled. "Don't go quiet on me now. We've got work to do." She laughed softly. "Then let's begin." The stars above twinkled with new warmth. But deep in the galaxy, an elder council had awoken, watching, planning, because a human and an alien had broken the most sacred law, and lived. Weeks passed. The world slowly began to heal. Alien forces had withdrawn. The skies were clear. The invasion had stopped. But Earth would never be the same, and neither would Jackson. He walked the rebuilt paths of the survivor camp, nodding to soldiers, speaking calmly to civilians. They didn't know how to talk to him anymore. Some feared him, others followed him. All sensed something different. Ilara lived inside him now. Not like a ghost, not like a machine, but like a second soul. Sometimes her voice guided him. Other times her emotions flowed into his own. They had become one, and the bond was unbreakable. Colonel Reese called for him one morning. Inside the command tent, she stood before a hologram of space. Jackson stepped in, boots dusty, coat fluttering slightly from the wind. Reese turned. "We intercepted something." "What is it?" She pointed at the stars. "A signal. It's coming from deep space. Unknown coordinates. But the message is clear." She pressed a button. A deep, slow voice played from the speakers. "To the bonded pair of Earth. You have broken our law. You have awakened a force older than memory. We will come, not with ships but with judgment." The recording ended. Silence. Jackson sighed. Of course they're not done. "They're not sending war fleets," Reese said. "They're sending something worse." Jackson already knew. Ilara spoke softly inside his mind. The elders. That night Jackson walked to the edge of a cliff that overlooked the forest. The moon glowed above. He sat, staring at it in silence. "Ilara," he said quietly. "I'm here," she answered. "They're coming, aren't they?" "Yes." "Can we survive them?" A long pause. "Only if we show them something they've forgotten." "What's that?" she whispered. "Hope." The sky changed 1 week later. It didn't glow with fire. No ships, no explosions. Just silence and stillness. Like the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, light. A thin beam shot down from the stars and struck the earth. Not a weapon, a doorway, a portal. Jackson stepped forward alone. He turned to Colonel Reese. "If I don't come back, you'll come back," she said, "because she's with you." He nodded once and entered the light. He woke up in a place without time, a hall of stars. In front of him stood 5 towering beings, shaped like no life form he knew. They were made of gravity, starlight, and silence. Their eyes were black holes. Their faces unreadable, but he didn't flinch. "You are the human," one of them said. "Yes," Jackson replied. "And you carry the outlaw," another said. "Ilara is no outlaw," he replied. "She's a soul, a person. She broke the bond law. She created something better than your law. They moved closer. Speak carefully. We erase with a thought. Jackson stepped forward. Then erase me. But know this. Your fear of connection is weakness, not strength. One of the elders paused. You dare accuse us? Yes, Jackson said. Because you fear what you cannot control. A soft light began to shine from his chest. Ilara's voice spoke, not from inside him, but outside. She stood beside him, now, not a spirit, not a machine, a form of her own, made of memory, energy, and truth. She walked forward and looked into the face of the nearest elder. You feared that love would make us soft, she said, but it made us unstoppable. The elders didn't respond, they didn't need to, because in that moment the stars behind them pulsed. Hundreds of lights. Other voices, other bonds, other souls once erased, beginning to return. A tide of change, a storm of forgotten hearts, and none of them were afraid anymore. Jackson and Ilara stood together hand in hand. You cannot stop what has begun, she said. The bond is no longer rare, it is awakening in others. And if you try to erase it again, Jackson added, you'll face a galaxy that finally remembers how to fight for what matters. The elders stood in silence. Then, one of them slowly bowed its head. Then let it be known, it said. The bond law is broken. Ilara's eyes filled with quiet tears, and Jackson held her hand tighter. The light faded. He woke up back on Earth. This time, not alone. She stood beside him, real, solid, alive. The camp cheered when they saw her. Jackson looked at her and smiled. You came back. I never left, she whispered. And under the new dawn, a human and an alien walked side by side, forever bound by something even the stars could not break. Love, choice, and hope.